What up guys, it's your boy Kevin Yee the Farm D, aka Kevin the Refugee, and today I have a really special guest. I have the one and only Nova Patra. If you guys don't know who she is, she did the Twitch stream viral masturbating video, but you know, she's so much more than that one viral video. And in this video I get to go behind the scenes, get to know her childhood, get to know how she went from a corporate job to full-time webcamming. Now, not all of us want to be webcam models, but there's a lot we can learn from her, including having a really supportive relationship, and most of all, we get to learn how to create a really fulfilling life. This video is definitely for you if you're feeling very unfulfilled and you want to look at alternative paths. Last of all, thank you Nova for shooting this video with me today. You had nothing gained from it, and I appreciate you helping out small creators like me. Appreciate it. 3, 2, 1, and we're live. What up guys, it's your boy Kevin Yee the Farm D, Kevin Yee the Refugee, and today I have a special guest. I got the one, the only Nova Patra, aka the viral masturbator, the epic Twitch streamer. I don't know, was that intro epic enough for you?
Pretty epic. I've never had an intro like that before. Thank you so much, Kevin, for inviting me to this interview with you. I'm excited to see what we're going to be talking about. I have no idea what I signed up for.
Yeah, honestly, man, like, I just want to thank you first because I have a small dick channel. I only got 4K-ish. You have like 40 something. And for you to just reach out to me and just be like, hey, let's do a collab. I was very like, thank you. I'm like really grateful. And as I was going through your content and stuff, I thought you'd be a great guest to have, just because I feel like you've created this really fulfilling life for yourself, you know? And we can learn a lot from that.
Yes, I mean, it's fulfilling, but it's not like easy breezy. Nothing in life is easy breezy, you know? It still has its challenges, and of course I want to, you know, reveal some of them with you here as I go on. But yeah, it is fulfilling because at the end of the day, I'm in full control of it.
Yeah. So, the first question I have, or like what I was really curious about as I was going through your videos, is like your childhood. How, like, what are your basic roots? How did you become the infamous like Nova Patra, man?
My childhood. Well, I was actually raised by my grandparents, so I didn't spend that much time with my mom and dad. So typical Chinese family, and I actually had this like really fond memory. This one time where I was like, was taking drawing lessons. I was always a very artsy kind of girl. Yeah. And then I told my grandma, I was like, when I'm older, I want to become an artist. And she's like, in her Chinese, like, you know, way, she's like, you're not going to make any money as an artist until you die. And then that was tracing back. That was what changed my mind to, oh, okay, maybe I want to be a teacher. Maybe I want to be something else. So I actually put the artist dream aside and never really thought too highly of people who are artists. And then I carried on living a pretty typical Canadian, Asian, Chinese Canadian girl life, you know, went to school, studied well, and tried to get good grades to please my parents. But my mom and dad were a little bit like not your typical Asian parents. I mean, even though I was raised with most of my grandparents, I spent weekends with them, but they were kind of a little bit badass in their own way.
How so?
That's why I lived with my grandparents. I think that's why they wanted to have more freedom in their life, more fun. They were big party animals. Like, you know, I remember like on like a Sunday night, my dad could play MJ till like 3 a.m. and I was just like passed out at like someone's house, and it was very not like normal, but I didn't really see it as like, you know, my mom and dad often treat me well with like taking me out to like good restaurants. So food was a big thing in, you know, my family connection.
Yeah, I feel like food is a huge thing in most like Chinese like type of things. You said like being raised by your grandparents was kind of different. Like other people never went through that. Like I feel like a lot of Chinese like people go through that. Like I was raised by my grandparents too, you know?
Really?
Yeah.
And then you did you see your parents, or you guys were living together in the same?
We lived together, but you know, it's kind of like the typical Chinese grind. They're always at work and stuff, and then you know they drop you off at your grandparents. Sometimes they're gone for a weekend because, like, for my family, they had like multiple jobs and stuff like that, just trying to give us the new American dream, you know? Yeah.
Actually, maybe like, you know, maybe I haven't talked to enough people, but like the Asian people that I grew up with, like I was the only one that I didn't actually see my parents from Monday to Friday. I only saw them on the weekend. So that was a bit skewed. I mean, later on when I was a teenager, that changed. I just moved back with my parents. But yeah, and that's kind of always, I think there's a bit of me that I really strived, that it basically made me a more independent person, that it kind of like, I had to like fight for this world, like stand up on my feet, and like that attitude. So that kind of shaped a lot of me in that sense.
What were your grandparents like anyways?
Oh my God, my grandpa, they're still alive, and they're so cute. And my grandpa was like the most fear-based thinker. Like he would think anything bad could happen. Like me, he would basically say no to everything. He was like afraid that I would get kidnapped and like all these like, you know, get lost, or like something would happen to me. And then my grandma was very, very, she did a lot. She has so much energy, like doing so much, but yet she was very, very like strict in terms of her cleanliness, like very like, you know, you can't wear like your jeans that you wore to school and sit on the bed, and like, you know, like, but it's good. It's good that it gave me structure, because I think my mom and dad, they weren't really in that realm yet. So my mom and dad, they were actually, because when I was young, I actually at one point felt they were really, my mom and dad were really cool. It was actually when I got a bit older, it's like then I was able to kind of, oh, wait a minute, my parents chose this so that they had more time for themselves, not take care of me. And then I kind of later on resented them. When I was young, when I was like 6 or 7, I didn't really think too much. Of course, I missed my parents and wish I could see them more, but I didn't really, it was like later on when I was like 16, 17, then I had a bit of resentment that they chose to live a funner life. And
was there a certain moment where you realized that?
Yeah, when I was a bit older. I can't think of an exact. Yeah. I'm trying to think. No, I can't think of but I can actually give you an example of when I actually forgave like that thought, like when I was able to let go of that resentment. But no, it was kind of like when I was a teenager, that was when it just kind of, that resentment that you think that you were smart enough to like, oh yeah, I'm a teenager now. I see my parents were just lazy and they just, you know, could have done more, but they didn't want to. And oh yeah, and just like, yeah. And also me seeing my parents like partying so hard. Yeah. And I was in a bit, I felt like I was the parent of my parents.
What?
Yeah. Like my mom and dad, like, yes, they would be like, I was young, they were like, oh yeah, you know, get better grades. But even when I was in university, I was stressing out so much. My mom was like, it's okay, mom and dad didn't go to university, just like pass. Like, but then they wanted me to go to university. Like, that's the only thing they wanted me to do was go to university and get a job. But they didn't really have any very strict parameters of what to get into, or what, like, they didn't really know. They didn't know any better.
So how did you like choose like your major or your path, you know, if you didn't have that direction?
I majored in communications and I minored in kinesiology.
Oh, what?
Yeah. But oh my God, I was so bad at memory. Like it was, kinesiology was hard for me to get through. I was communications, always been fascinated by, you know, television, media. I guess just like, you know, like a lot of girls, like wanted to be wanted to be like a movie star or something like that. So didn't get into that because my mom talked me out of that route. It's funny how now I'm here, but then I was like, okay, fine, I'll take the next closest thing, communications, and what that degree is all about is kind of, it teaches you to have a critical eye to like all these media platforms, pretty much. And I am so blessed. I don't know that I got myself into that because I find it really helpful for me to understand where the world is going to, and just teaching you about critical thinking. Yeah. And then I guess I balanced that with kinesiology because I've been always, I think I started to become very interested in nutrition and taking care of my body very young. Like when I was 17, 16, I started having like a gym pass, going to the gym. I was always like the first one in the, my friends to do all these things. And then that's why I also got my degree in my minor in kinesiology.
What made you was there a specific moment that made you want to go to the gym or anything like that? Like for a lot of us guys, like a lot of time we're like, oh man, for me, I was like a loser in high school. So I was just like, fuck, I want to get girls. I want to look good. I'm tired of being fat. All those years at McDonald's from my grandma feeding me all that good Chinese food was getting me fat, and I just want to look better. But what was your motivation for going to the gym?
I wish I had a picture right now. I think I will put a picture on YouTube soon. I actually, like I said, my family really liked food, and it was like we ate a lot of good food, and I wasn't actually this size when I was 16, 17. I got to a point that I was like, oh yeah, when you're young, you don't really have that you don't have that weight gain, but then you hit a certain age, it's like, oh, now it's like, what you eat will show on your body. And then I guess I was starting to gain weight, and then I was like, okay, well, I don't like this. So then I started going to the gym, and my dad was actually probably the one that kind of because my dad was a very, 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 and gym enthusiast. He was, he was a bit of a bodybuilder. Yeah.
Oh, what? That's so cool, dude. That's not like most Asian parents, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think that's really cool that your parents, even though they were kind of distant, they were sort of outliers for Asian parents, because you usually hear that, I want you to do law or do medicine or something like that. They were kind of hands off with that. And then your dad wanted to do a bodybuilder. I look at most Asian dads, and they don't even give a fuck about working out and stuff, So it's really cool to see that. And I can definitely see how that plays a part in your artsy side and whatnot. You probably got it from them,
Yeah, I think so. I think definitely, of course, right now, my world compared to what they were so different, but in their world, they were quite the outliers. And that's exactly what you said is quite on point. And also, I think there's one bigger part is that I guess even this bigger part I haven't shared yet, and how I'm the viral masturbator is also my parents were quite they're open with their sexuality, but they never shamed sex. They never shamed porn. In fact, my guy friends in grade 12 came to my home and they found my dad's biggest porn stash. And I remember younger days, I watched this what was it? Some Dusk Till Dawn. It was this movie of this girl was topless, and I told my dad, I was like, and my dad was like, what? It's only topless. So they never really I never had anything dark about it with my family, but they also never really shamed it. And I actually know that my parents had a lot of sex too. They were always they didn't even hide their condom. They
the
just
rappers and stuff.
The rappers, they just threw it in the washroom, the garbage bin, and I would see them, right? So it was they never really try to hide it. So that's why I am who I am. And today is because I was never raised in that typical, very conservative Asian culture with sexuality.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that explains how you're doing what you're doing now, man. That's really cool. Just curious, like in high school and whatnot, who did you hang around with? Like, what kind of kid were you? You know how like sometimes in high school there's different cliques and stuff?
So I changed high schools. From grade 8 to grade 10, I went to I was living with my grandparents at that time still. And and then I went to a very like Caucasian high school. So I was kind of like hanging out with these, not like the big cool like party like white girls, but more like the innocent groups. But then somehow there was something that I knew in me that I fit a lot better with Asian people, and I just feel like I needed a change. So I think it was what grade was it that I moved schools? Grade 11. Grade 11, grade 11, I didn't even tell the people that I was going to change schools, and I just like left my old school, high school, and I went to my other high school, which was closer to where my parents lived. And that was like a very like Asian dominant, like they were like 95% Asians and 5%, like it was that. And at that time I really dug that. I felt like I had that identity of connected with Asians, and I guess those friends were more like the bad, the bad kids a little bit.
The ABG crowd and
whatnot. Yes.
That's so funny. So you used to be ABG? That's what you're telling me right now.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So you go through high school and then you go to college, minor in kinesiology and majored in communications. You're working toward your degree. What did you want to be at that point? In the back of my head, I always wanted to become an actress or an actor, which my mom like completely killed that dream. How did your mom kill that dream for you?
She was just like, it's a very dark world, the entertainment industry. You would basically, if you get into it, you won't know. Like she's like basically like, I don't know. She just really saw it in a very bad light. So I didn't even pursue it. Like I took drama classes. That was like the closest thing that I did. So I never actually, I never really pursued it. It was just kind of something that I wanted. But then I was like, okay, fine. The next best job, what do I want? So I guess doing communications, I wanted something to do with like media, TV, advertising. In the end, my dream job was I actually got this really cool public like PR kind of job. I see myself like behind the scenes working for some kind of media corporation.
Like I remember watching one of your vlogs and stuff, and you're saying that you got your like dream job in Hong Kong and whatnot, right? Mm-hmm. What was that like for you? Like, because you wanted to be behind the scenes, you wanted to do this corporation stable type of job, but what was that experience like once you actually got that like dream job?
Well, you got to go back a little bit because before I had the dream job, after I graduated from university, I actually worked in a nonprofit organization for 3 years as an event planner.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I was basically event planner assistant. So I was, planning events for a nonprofit organization, and that was good, but it was too easy for me. Like I knew something was missing. And then I went to this route and I taught yoga. I went to a yoga teacher training. I taught yoga for 2 years. Yeah. And that was good. I liked it, but then it was not making a lot of money. And then I was like, oh. And then I was like, no, I think I can do more. And then I got this dream job in Hong Kong. Was basically it was a job that used all my previous skill set and working for a pretty chic, pretty cool company, and but I loved it in the name that I got, the title. I loved having to tell my friends, my family, this cool job that I had. But then if you go down into actually the daily duties I had to do and whatnot, it wasn't that much of a dream job. And maybe I just didn't get used to working in a Hong Kong environment. I think that was a big thing because working from nonprofit, it was pretty laid back, and yoga teacher was pretty laid back. And then boom, yes, cool title, cool job, working for a corporation in Hong Kong with a pretty chic job where my role was to kind of to network with key influencers. And then I was like, and yeah, it sounded cool, but then I hated every minute of it. There's so much reporting, there's so much like red tape, and I just feel like people in Hong Kong, I just couldn't really trust them as much as like Vancouver people. Like, and then I just was really stressed out. Like every day after work, I would basically have to talk to my husband and how he had to like talk me to like be okay and to go to work tomorrow, and I would dread that. It was like a repeat, and it was like so dark that time.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, this is not for me.
Yeah, it sounds like the kind of like the repetitive office work and stuff, that was like one unexpected thing for you. But what else was like unexpected with that job? What?
It was not so much even the office job. It's like reporting. It's like we got to report to this, you got to report to that person, and not being able to get my team in a very like teamwork together. It was like and that's the thing. Like I think I'm a very intuitive person, and deeply inside I was like, okay, once I got this job, it was like it was good in title, but in terms of how my body and how I was reacting to it, how it felt like it was just very not in alignment. And I just knew it was, and I think a lot of people, and we were told to like, oh, well, you should grind harder, you should work harder to get through that. But then somehow I just got this inner knowing that it was actually not this thing for me. And then of course in the back of my head, it's like, oh, I still want to be an entertainer. Like,
dude, what you're describing is like my daily struggle right now.
Oh,
but I think like also like so I lived in Hong Kong for about like 6 months and stuff, and they work you really, really hard. I know the work culture there is like, dude, Chinese sweatshop type of mentality, man.
Yeah.
Did you feel like burnt out a lot of time and whatnot as well?
Yeah, like for me, it was like I think what it was like, yeah. Like when I was working at that event planning job, like they would give me like 3 months to plan one event, like a lot of time. But like in Hong Kong, it was just like piling up so many things. Like I was just like, it was too much for me. Like I just not made that way. Like for me, I like to be like detail oriented, to be like, but like that, it was just like, it was more about like, yeah, quantity, not quality of work. Like how much can we squeeze out of this person? How many, and it just, yeah, like that was just, it was good. It was good. That was exactly what I needed. That like, when you hit such rock bottom, and that's the thing, even though I felt like I hit rock bottom, it was good because it was actually my so-called, what I thought was my dream job. Like say if it's like a job that I didn't really like, I would still be searching for the next corporate job or the next, but because I knew deeply inside it was pretty good, like that corporate job in my eyes. Like, and the reason why I don't want to say too much is because that could trace that down to like my real name. So
yeah,
that's why I'm giving it like more of a, I wish I could give you more examples.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I got you. But like what you're describing is like pretty much my life too. It's like, my whole life, I just thought like, I remember like in high school, I was trying to figure out my major, and I do the most Asian, most Chinese thing. I go into a book, I see the highest paying like careers, and I'm like, oh, that sounds good, And for the longest time, I just thought, this is my dream job. This is my dream job, and it kept on trying to convince myself that this was for me, right? But when I actually got there, I was so fucking unhappy. I was more happy with the process than the actual result, man. It was so crazy, you know? So when I hear your story and how you were like, this is something that you thought you wanted, but when you got there, it wasn't what you expected, you know? So,
yeah. And for yourself, like, if you don't mind me asking.
No,
like,
of course.
What did you like to do when you were the young Kevin, when he was 5 years old, 6 years old? What were the things that you liked before people told you about the concept of money?
Yeah, you know what's funny? Back in the day, I used to watch a lot of Wong Fei Hong, like the freaking movies and stuff. So me and my brother, we would take like, I don't know, wiffle bats and stuff and pretend like we're in the movies and stuff. I used to do that. We used to dude, I used to play Pokemon all the time, and it was so cool. It was like an escape, man. Like, because at home, like, my dad always used to yell at me and stuff like that, and it was just very, you know, like, I just played so many video games, and I got entrenched in stories, and to me it was just like escaping from home, you know? So yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of times, like, what we actually like to do when we're very, very young, before our parents or, you know, authorities told us what to do, like, it says a lot about who you are, what you like, what is gonna be on your happy path. So I guess you're a very like movement guy. You like, like a very, you know, live big kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like you know, your job, a lot of like, for you to recognize that it's not quite in alignment, yet you're still keeping that, and then doing a side hustle. Wow. That's, it takes a lot of strength.
Yeah. And I think like that advice of when they're trying to look for their passion, like, I don't know, when people are trying to look for their passion or look what they're good at and stuff, like, people take it so damn seriously sometimes. I'm just like, man, it feels like you're like waiting for the results of your STD test. It's the same attitude we do it for our passion. I was like, we can't find it that way, you know? So I really like your approach of like, you know, what did you do when you were a kid before you knew what money was all about?
Even before schooling, the school system. Like, I think people, after like they go to school, it's like, oh, I'm good at chemistry, I'm good at this, I'm good at English, and then you kind of use that, oh, those are the things I'm good at. But sometimes I don't even think that in itself kind of sets a wrong kind of idea. Like, you have to go back to like 5 years, like when you're like 5 or 6, like quite young. Like that's I think it gives you a lot of insights to what you really, really like. And like for me, that's why I remember that story. It was just not, and that story wasn't always that I told you about my grandma when I was to be an artist. Like, that was hidden for a long time. I kind of just undug that, like maybe the last couple of years when this kind of all unfolded. It's like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. Like,
how did you used to like play when you were a kid?
I loved role playing. I would just pretend I'm like different. I would like I'm an only child, so I would like pretend I'm like a teacher and teaching like my cousins. We would play like hospital. Like, I would have a very like wild imagination, and I had a lot of like imaginary friends and boyfriends too. It was really young. I'm talking about this is like when I was like really like elementary school. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so funny. How did you realize that? So you feel trapped in Hong Kong and stuff. How did you realize like the next steps of your life?
I wasn't by myself there. I was there because my husband was there to finish law school.
Law school, right? Yeah.
Yes. And it turned out that he really didn't like for his family too. And that's what we're kind of learning, that we've been, this generation, been like listening to the baby boomers of what is a good life. And then we follow that path, and then realize when we actually do it, it's like, wait a minute, this is not really, So what happened was, that was year 2013, December. Actually, I'm writing a book, working on a book right now.
Oh, sweet. Shameless promo. Affiliate link over here.
Oh, yeah, you could get them right here. I'll give you a 50% discount. Use this coupon code. No, you can cut it out. Pretty much, I was sitting at a restaurant in LKF on Guifang with my husband on New Year's Eve, and it was just like, oh my God, like it was like the last straw. Oh yeah, what happened that day? First of all, I couldn't believe that you had to work on New Year's Eve in Hong Kong.
Oh, yes, you do.
I was like, fuck, that was just like, what the fuck, right? And then 3 o'clock, I still remember it vividly. I was like sitting in this like really nice place at one of the stores, and then on my laptop seeing like the beautiful Hong Kong view, and then my regional manager calls me, and she basically told me the event that I was planning, the venue. She's like, no, I don't think I like that venue. I want to change that venue somewhere else. And then I was just like, it's like, what the hell? That event's happening in like 3 or 4 weeks, and why do you have to do that? And then why do you have to tell me on New Year's Eve? Because it's just like, wait, like and that was like really like, that was a straw. And I was just like, so stressed, right? Even more stressed. And then dinner time, I was telling my husband that, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, sometimes I wish, like, you know, I'd rather be a fucking porn star than do this. And he's like, well, you know, there's something called webcamming. I was like, what's that? Never heard of it. And my husband and I were quite, like, we're very open with our sexuality. Like, so it's just like, so then he told me, he's like, well, you basically, there's a webcam and you basically create entertainment, and there's a chat, and then some people, you make money off it. And I was like, really? I didn't know that. I thought those were fake. And then the next day, January 1st, I went on the first site. I remember, I think it was chatterbait.com. And then I was like, oh, I can do this. And then I remember I just like jumped right on and try it. And I got naked for the first time on internet. That was crazy. Like I mean, it's so easy now because like I've been doing it for so long. But at that moment, it was like I wore a wig, and it was like, this is real. And then the moment of doing it, and it was so fun. And it was like, also I saw the freedom, and I also see that it was a very, even though it's sex work, it's not the same as becoming a porn star, because the thing about porn star is you don't have say who you work with, what you work with, you're under someone's order. But for me, I was just in my own bedroom and in front of the computer, and I don't know, and it felt really aligned, and I felt like I finally saw the light at the end of the tunnel to get out of this job that I really, really hated. It was actually driving me in a very bad mental state.
Yeah. I think, well, there's a few things that I think is so amazing about that, is that, one, you got to live out your childhood fantasy of role-playing and stuff and whatnot. But second thing, I think, the main thing I'm getting is like, dude, you have such a loving and supporting husband, you know? And I think that's one of the main things I see in your videos. That's what, to me, makes your rich life, you know? Because your husband is just like, fuck it. There's webcamming. Let's try it, you know? And he's there unconditionally for you. And that's so rare, you know?
It is so, so, so rare, because even I've talked to like other cam models, and it's hard for some of them to have a relationship to do webcamming and also have a relationship. That people would say like, no, I'm not jealous, I'm okay. But then a couple months later, the jealousy does come out. It is a very, very rare case that having someone like this supportive, but actually, there are still some other content couples in this realm, in my realm, webcamming too, that I know. So whenever I see another couple that is kind of like us, it's pretty cool to see how they rock it too.
Quick question, like, how did you create such a deep, supportive relationship with your husband and whatnot?
We've been together for 9 years. We just had our wedding anniversry.
Congrats.
2 days ago. But that's the thing. It didn't just happen like this. I got into camming the 6th or 5th year, 6th year of our relationship. So it's not like oh, we just got together and this just rolled. Like we actually spent a lot of time communicating.
Yeah.
And also we kind of did pick up a bit of spirituality, because I have a pretty big like yoga kind of path. So we read a lot of grounding spiritual books and understanding about the ego. And still, it's always practice. I don't want to say like I'm a spiritual like leader or anything like that. No, it's like an ongoing practice. But having the knowledge, the vast of knowledge of those things, it grounds you a lot more. And I think it has to be both people actually want it. Yeah. Like it is a two-way kind of thing. So we both really appreciate the common traits that we have. And we kind of just like grew together with a lot of communication. But who we were when we first met was so different than who we are now. But the beauty is somehow we magically like grew together.
How were you guys when you first met then?
Okay, so I guess I'm revealing my age, which I'm planning to reveal my age in my book already. So I met him my 24th birthday.
Oh, wow. And how do you guys meet?
We met at a club. But oh no, I want to go back. The story is I actually saw him when I was in grade 8 at a volleyball camp, summer volleyball camp. And he was piggybacking this girl, and I knew he was like part of the summer camp. I never really talked to him, but I told my best friend, and I was like, oh my God, one day I want to, because I never even dated anyone. I was pretty late dating someone. I didn't date someone until I was like 17. So I told my best friend at that time when I was 13. I was like, oh, when I have a boyfriend, I want to have a boyfriend just like that guy, that he's so cute and he's like piggyback his girlfriend everywhere. And then I didn't see him for like 10 years. And then somehow we had a common friend that I knew from university that he was friends with. And then we saw each other, and I just got out of my long-term relationship, and he just got out of a long-term relationship, and somehow we were at the same place. And then I was drunk enough, it was like my birthday, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna tell my friend that I think his friend is cute, and I'll see what happens. And I did, and then now we're here.
The universe aligns, man.
Yeah.
That's so. You said you were late to a dating game and whatnot. So how did you know, like, when you started dating your husband, how did you know that he was the one?
The sex life was good. But also I really dug, like, it's like somehow with the communication, like him and I, we can actually talk about, nothing was too taboo.
Yeah. Like
we could talk about anything. It's like, there's always so much to say. Until this day, we still have so much to say to each other. What else did I know that it was, oh my God. Oh, I know it's this other thing, but it's kind of, is it too taboo to share it here?
No, fucking share it.
Oh my God. I think I shared it a few times. I'm not like, but I don't think I've ever shared it on YouTube. I'll review it on yours first. Just don't cut it as like that is like the main draw.
Yeah.
So, you know birthmarks, right?
Yeah.
It was like maybe the third time we were having sex, and it was daytime, and then I realized that him and I had a matching birthmark by our genitals. A matching one.
Like same as that? Like if you like...
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's like, soulmates? Like we were like moldmates. And then after that, I was like, that is so strange. And then from that, it kind of gives you that, okay, this is like how rare do you have like, your partner to have a matching birthmark. Yeah. And that's why I always feel like I am quite a sexual person, because there is something, you know how like Cindy Crawford has a beauty mark or something, like, I don't know. And I was like, two people somehow have a birthmark, you know, by their genitals, and they're together.
That's destiny right there. So if guys, what Nova's trying to say, if you're trying to find your soulmate, you gotta match genital like birthmarks, and then you're good, man.
It doesn't be genital, it could be somewhere else, you know?
No, specifically genital. She said it here first. That's funny, dude. That's awesome.
It is funny, right? Like, and that's kind of like maybe like in the back of my head, like sometimes like things get rough, get hard, you still kind of like, okay, you gotta work through it, and yeah.
So yeah, we talked a little bit about your relationship, your matching birthmarks and stuff. So like you start doing this webcamming and whatnot. And I understand you only work with him and whatnot, right?
Yeah. And girls.
Well, girls
like,
too, right? Tell me like the day that you decide to leave your Hong Kong job and just like you're like, fuck it, take the leap of faith.
Oh my God. I remember I began telling her, I told my regional manager on her birthday, and her birthday was the same birthday as my husband. It was like January 7th. It was like a week after I went the first time on camming. I was like, okay, and I told her, but the process was like breaking up with a long-term boyfriend because I couldn't really tell her why I needed to quit, because in her eyes, like, you don't even have a job lined up. What the hell are you cracking on? Like, and then I just like, yeah, I will find. I had to like lie. It was so hard, and she wouldn't give up on me. She was like she really thought I was like the perfect match for this job, even though I showed so much signs that I felt like I was so like struggling. Like, I guess she didn't want, because what the company went through to hire me and the training, it took a lot of money and time and resources, right? So that's why they needed to like make sure I don't give up on it. But I swear it took probably 2 weeks, 2 weeks, and I talked to like 4 people before like they were like, okay, they were able to let me go. And the reason why I could fully kind of shift the story out was I actually had to sign up. I wouldn't want to say I had to, but I'm glad I took this teacher training. So I actually signed up for another yoga teacher training and said that I wanted to get back to teaching yoga, and that was like my lie. Mm-hmm. Because I couldn't tell them why I wanted to quit, and then they're like, "Oh, no, you can take this yoga teacher training, and you can work for us at the same time." I was like,
"No, fuck that."
But in the end, somehow, like, they were able to like accept that, and then I did the last big event for them in February. And then I left at the end of February, and I went full-time camming in March.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. But,
and were you teaching yoga on the side still?
No, I didn't. No, I did actually finish that yoga teacher training. It was one of I learned a lot of valuable lessons there. And what happened was I just took what I learned from teaching yoga. It was not just like, not the teaching how do people do yoga, but the philosophy, this whatnot. I took that and I applied it to camming, and it worked for me.
Like what kind of things did you apply from yoga to camming?
Well, like just like teaching from an authentic space, right? Mm. Like so many people when they teach like yoga, they put on the role as like a yoga teacher, but not actually teaching from the heart. Like, I mean, I know how you get it. Like, there's a lot of people, like, I've been watching your videos. Like, not a lot of people can talk from the heart space. There's so much, like, masks you got to put on to look good. And for me, I just kind of apply that. And everything I learned from yoga teacher training, I just share that with my audience. And I was one of those I was different in that sense. Like, that I was sharing a lot of my camming time was just talking about philosophy and then getting naked. But that's cool because I own that. And then it was also really good to use what I learned to like handle trolls too.
How would you handle a troll? Like what would they say and how would you handle it?
Well, like I mean, I don't think now anymore, but like earlier times, like the trolls, they would like, like someone would troll them and then people would just like you know, react back to it.
Yeah.
But for me, I would like use them as an example to like, you know, you probably have a lot of pain in your life right now, because if you didn't have pain, you wouldn't be hanging out in my room and spreading hate. Like, you know, and I was just like kind of like giving them the mirror, and then also, or sometimes I don't ignore them. I purposely ignore them because I believe trolls is like, if you feed them, they come back. If you don't feed them, they nothing to eat. They've got to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But it's just like for me, and also not trying to be like this perfect person, but being able to share my vulnerabilities, like, oh, well, I'm not really good at dancing. Dancing is not my thing. Like, you know, and then being able to share that and offer insights to people who are watching why I say certain things, and people really kind of connected. It was good. Yeah.
I think, definitely like sharing that vulnerability. You know, at first, like it feels kind of awkward because you feel like people will be like, oh, I don't want to talk to you and stuff. But it does something so amazing where it just like starts attracting people. I'm like, damn, like the other day I was saying like, I came back from this program and I was like, man, I get so fucking nervous talking to girls at clubs and stuff. It makes me so insecure. And I've been running away from relationships for the last 8 years. And all of a sudden people started emailing me and being like, hey, Kevin, I go through the same thing too. It feels good because you don't feel alone anymore, man.
That's the thing. I think everyone, no matter who you are, we all have our own like insecurities. Yeah. But the more we try to like hide them, the more we try to be strong and try to be cool, the bigger they actually boiling up. Yeah. But when we are kind of just like, hey, you know, of course, like there's things that you feel like you're not so good at, but there's also really good things that you're really good at. And that's like that for everyone. And by us being able to share that and just like being human, because there's no human that is good at everything.
Yeah, that's
like,
so true.
Like, and I just think, I actually watched that video of yours too, where you said that you started reading Neo Strauss.
Yeah, I love him. Yeah. I started picking up women when, actually in Hong Kong, when I lived there, I read the book The Game, and it's so crazy how his book The Truth came back in my life and made me want to really sort of go down that path and really repair that side, you know? So. And I think the more you can talk about it, sometimes you clean out those gremlins in the closet. Yeah. And it's like then you can change it. But the more you're like, oh, that part, I'm going to act tough. I'm not going to show weakness. Like, and that's when it gets into the bigger thing, and it gets darker and darker. So, yeah. I think also through yoga practice, like, I started yoga probably maybe a few months ago. But man, when I was doing yoga, I was like, fuck, man, I suck at this shit, blah, blah, blah. I noticed all this negative, like, self-talk, and I realized, like, you know what? This plays out into my real life, too, because I'm always consistently trying to hold this standard of perfection every single time, and it doesn't allow me to be vulnerable. So now, like, when I do yoga, I try to be more conscious about how I talk to myself, because language does matter, and it's okay, and, like, that true acceptance of, like, maybe I suck at this, but, like, it's okay, you know? Like you spent your time somewhere else, right? Yeah. And it's okay. And most people, like, you go into something new and you kind of measure yourself, and same with like YouTube, same with being a content creator. A lot of, I think, people would come in being a cam girl, being a YouTuber. You come in and you measure yourself or something, or like a new yogi come into a yoga class, they measure themselves with the best YouTuber, the best yogi in class. And it's not, and I think naturally a lot of people do that, but when you kind of like, wait a minute, like when you can kind of look past that and just like, okay, like if I want this, I got to keep doing that, and you will slowly see it grow, right? But I think a lot of times we just like
stop ourselves to even get there because we just start comparing ourselves way too early.
It's like a dick size measuring contest, like when we're kids and stuff like that, you know?
Yep.
And it's just like, it's something that I've caught myself doing, especially recently, you know? I'm just like, fuck, man, like, why isn't my YouTube growing like quick enough for like my standards? And I just gotta realize that, hey, you know what? I might have a small D, I might have small subscribers, but my fans, they're so damn loyal to me, man. It's amazing. It warms my heart to see them like greet each other and be like, yo, what's up? Like, yo, green tea, what's up? How you guys doing? Or like support each other. I was like, man, it goes more than just my YouTube because I'm building a community full of people. Yeah, and it really warms my heart, man.
Yeah, and it's so good that you see that and that gratefulness, that attitude is just gonna keep building. And hey, and I just want to say that like nobody saw me grinding. I didn't just go and start becoming camming and I had like all these followers. I started at like just like how you have 4,000 subscribers. I started with like 1,000 people or 500 people following me on social. Like it was like that too. But then now people like the viral video, whatnot, they see this side, but they didn't see the side that I grinded too.
Yeah.
So you never know. You might get a video that just one day just take off and you just don't know, but you got to stay and keep doing it. That's what you really care about.
I feel like a huge misconception of being a cam girl is that it's so fucking easy, but it's not. Like what kind of like what are the hidden secrets or hidden grinds that, you know, the hidden problems behind the cam girl, you know, that you faced?
Well, first, there's so many cam girls.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot, and and I've seen so many beautiful women that came and went so fast because, like, I shouldn't say that. No, like, as in, like they were, you know, they were just cam for a little while and they just like left because they couldn't wait to see what happens if they actually stuck with it longer.
Yeah.
The thing with camming is that it's easy if you just like do a few shows, but to actually stay in it and to make it as like a full-time job, it's not super easy, and it takes, and I'm very lucky that you see that I have my husband, that I also have him to have a lot of support to kind of shift my thinking a little bit whenever I kind of like, oh my god, I see it and I'm very narrow-minded. And what I think about camming is that you have to be able to like be okay, you rise up and down. Sometimes you have a great day.
Yeah.
And then you're like, yeah, I'm on top of the world. This is good. And then like you have a bad day, and somehow your mind could kind of like start all that negative talk about yourself.
Yeah.
And then if you're not equipped enough to separate that and to be like, okay, no, I can't use like one day's data to like, you know, you have to be able to kind of see it more like it's just like a flow. And what I'm trying to say, that you have to look at it in a macro sense, not microly. If you play this game microly, you're gonna end up like, self-sabotaging yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to know truly what you're good at, what you can offer that is a little bit different. And I'm not saying one way is better than the other. Some girls are really good at dancing, but for me, like it's not my thing. And if I'm trying to mimic that, then that's not really going to work for me. And you have to go with what you're good at. And that's the same with all kinds of content creator too. So for me, I'm more of like, my style is more like talking. My style is more like role playing. And I just kind of and because what I'm trying to say is like a lot of times people just like look at a cam on and like, oh my God, they do so well like that. And they try to copy the exact same thing, and it doesn't quite work that way. So
did people try to copy your like viral video right after?
Yeah, there are definitely some that definitely try to copy it, but that's the difference between them and me is I actually did have a Twitch stream. Like I was on Twitch for a good couple months when my dad was like having like the worst kind of like the lower times I had with like take care of my dad. I wasn't feeling so sexual that I could go on cam, and I didn't want to like lose that momentum. So I was like, oh, I'll just go on Twitch and play Hearthstone.
Hearthstone, yeah.
Yeah, so that was just like, so I did actually have a channel, and then after, you know, that chapter of my life was gone, I just like, okay, well, I just went back on camming, and then but then and then I was like, oh, because I guess I'm a very going back to your asking your question, initial question about what are some tips or whatnot. I think creativity is a big one. Like sometimes you feel stuck, so you've got to do different things. So then I was just starting being creative with like my videos, and then I was like, oh yeah, I was like, I remember when I was on Twitch, there were so many people who fantasized like me to like, you know, do like naughty things on Twitch, and in my head I was like, why would I risk that and do that on Twitch? Like I don't need to. And but then I was like, oh wait a minute, but then I can actually make a video that looks like that. And that was actually how it all started.
Dude, you stole the question, right? Dude, literally right here I have, how do you go about creating your content or get the inspiration to tell stories like your Twitch video? I was like, damn, so you just segued into it. Awesome, man. Did my work for me.
Maybe that's just intuition.
Do you have like a sort of a process where like you sort of get creative, or some sort of system where you just like, I don't want to say system because that sounds like too like, but like a certain ritual that you do to like get in a creative space?
To have a system. I really milked this reality of mine of having no rules, and I always just flowed with what's going on and not resisting. Like when things are like, when I'm not in that creative state, I don't force it, but I do like to shift things around. So like I think this week I really needed to have like a social media cleanse. Sometimes when you're just consuming too much content, you can't be creative. But really, because how lucky that I kind of build my own schedule. I'm my own boss. Like I just let my own flow.
Yeah.
But it's good and bad for that, because it's good that you're flowing your own way. But then there's this other voice like, well, could I do more? Could I produce more? So yeah, it's that. But I'm currently, that's more of my challenge right now. It's like, yes, I can play to what my needs are, but then how do I like, you know, produce more? Yeah.
I think like as someone who is never really artsy, like growing up, I've always been a little more surprisingly, like this is going to surprise a lot of my fans, but I was actually very analytical like for most of my life. And then kind of like entering this like YouTube space or creative, like through blogging and whatnot, I was kind of like forced to be more of an artist. And it's really surprising. It's not like doing your homework or anything where you can just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna settle down and then just grind it out. It really depends on like the flow of being an artist. And I noticed some things that help with that process sometimes. Like for me, like I do continuous writing, so something called like the morning pages. Have you ever read The Artist's Way or anything like that?
No, not yet.
Highly recommend it.
Okay, Artist's Way, who's it by?
Linda Cameron. But she has something called the morning pages, so it's continuous writing. And honestly, when I'm in like such a shit mood, it helps me shift, because I'm giving I'm giving space for me just to create, right? And the second thing I do is go on an artist date. So it'll be by myself. I'll just like wander, and like I'll go to bookstores or I'll go to a coffee shop and just like pull a random book like off my shelf. If you don't know, I have tons of books. Like I have a huge bookcase to my left, but I'm just like and then walk down to a coffee shop, just read it, just look around the neighborhood, just really be present with like nature and stuff, and not have like a certain agenda, you know what I mean? So
I think, yes, going back to like being present, like when you're kind of overworked your head, you need to like go back to like, okay, being present and not in not even think more. I think a lot of us is like, oh, when we can't be creative, we even analyze why we can't, and it just like it blocks it even more. But when like you said, when you kind of do these more mindfulness kind of work, it brings back the creativity.
Man, like honestly, Nova, I feel like I could go on hours and hours talking about like creativity and like spirituality and all that sort of stuff, because I feel like in so many ways we're so similar. Like our upbringing is very similar. Like our that chasing the dream job is so similar. That one, like for me, I want to have that unconditional love that you have with your husband, man. And I'm just like, man, we relate on so many levels. But I want to also honor our time, because I told us it would be like, but finally, like, is there anything you'd like to like, any final thoughts after what we talked about today?
Well, I don't know if I gave you what you wanted, like if you got to hear my stories, and I'm quite, I mean, it's not really kind of my question about this, but I am quite, because you're like a pretty professional person, and I'm quite surprised that you would want to invite me. And I noticed like you do kind of have a few videos that are more more talking about sexual, like the sexual realm, and but then this is also like a very like a channel that talks about your professional life too, right? So I want to know, how did you like why are you so brave to kind of merge those things together?
You know, it's very funny, because a lot of people watch my videos, like a lot of the people in the pharmacy where I'm watching my videos and stuff. But you know, like it all started like when I did a reality versus expectations video about pharmacy. And I just felt like there was a lot of things that were unsaid, you know? And I put myself in those shoes, right? If I was like just beginning pharmacy, like what would I really want to hear? I don't want to hear the corporate bullshit, you know? I want to hear the real talk, you know? And for me, it's pretty funny. Like when I was a kid, I used to always talk on the phone and stuff with like girls, guys, didn't matter, you know? And I just love having conversations. So that's actually one of the reasons why I was like, oh, like I get to talk to you. I was like, yes, you know, because like I think the one thing in my life that makes me feel very rich isn't the money, isn't my Bitcoin investments. I don't give a fuck about that. But it's the conversations and the connection with like genuine people, you know, and giving them the space to just like talk about their life. And even though like maybe it's not probably a lot of these people watching this don't want to become a webcam girl, but there's certain aspects of people's lives that we can apply to us, you know? And I feel like your life, it's very, you created it. You created something so fulfilling. You created a beautiful relationship with your husband, you know, you created this career. And I just feel like a lot of us, maybe we're not in the same industry, we can just learn from that. So yeah.
I know, I give you so much props, because like there's some, like for example, like yoga teachers or whatnot, like that they can never, even though they probably embrace their sexuality, they can't even talk about that. They have to put on this like shell that I'm this pristine, perfect yoga teacher, and just like and actually like, you know, like I'm sure like there's some people that would be like, oh, why would Kevin talk about his like sex life or his like those kind of stories? But I like it. Person. But I like it that it's real, that and that's what I want to like spread to people, that like you can be a good person and also like, you know, I don't want to call it a dark side. It's just you know, it's just like and I really dig people like you, like our common friend Broke the Habit, like can be like real and just talk about all sorts of things, and yeah, it's beautiful.
And like last thing to just talk about what you said, it's not about having, you're right, it's not about having a dark side, but this is just who I am, you know? I'm a very sexual person too. I openly talk about sex. Like I've talked about me jerking off too much and having erectile dysfunction when I was trying to bang my girlfriend, right? So like, You know, like, but I feel like those moments, like, it's fun. It's just like it connects people together and stuff like that.
That's why your fans are so loyal, because they dig that and keep doing that. That's yeah.
And finally, I just want to thank you again, because you're helping me. I'm such a small channel, and I think you're a really good balance of, you know, that spirituality and that practical type of side too. You know, like I was watching your video, I was like, that's cute. You got that Sailor Moon phone case and stuff, like in one of your videos, and then you're like, you still have it?
Yeah, I still have it.
That's cute. And then you're like Grey Goose is my favorite drink, you know, so you got this really cool practical, like, grounded side, but then you got the really spiritual side too, and it's really cool and very rare sometimes to find a balance between the two, and that's something I really appreciate about you. But anyways, guys,
thank you. Thank you so
Nova's
much.
Nova's shameless plugs. Make sure to follow her on her YouTube, IG. If you want to go to the dark side, I'll put links below too. But anyways,
it's YouTube. You don't. I don't promote that on YouTube. But if you want to, sure.
I'll shamelessly promote it for you. So,
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Nova.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Kevin.